Hi, this is Kylie Koo. Welcome to my studio and welcome to week 13 of creating a positivity deck. Now, we're starting a new state of being, and that state of being is rise. So, we've been in the slow down state where we've been relaxing, resting, being calm, being still, etc. And now it's time to rise. So just in the way that we would arise from a sleep or from a rest, that's what the state of being is about. So in some ways it's increasing the pace a little bit. But by that I don't mean that we now go hammer and tongs at things, though if you want to, feel free to. I'm still very much about art with intention and about making these cards a positive experience to create, about enjoying each step. So I'm starting here by decorating the backs of my cards, and as I did for the very first set, I'm just taping them together to make it easier to paint the backs in one go. Now for slow down, for the backs, I'd used a kind of soft green, soft blues, and for rise, I'm going to make them slightly more vibrant in terms of the colours. Again, just that notion of changing tempo, changing the pace just a little bit. And this time I'm going to do orange with some red. Now the backs of these cards already have red on them. So while I've sanded them, just because they are kind of plastic and this will allow the paint to stick more easily, I did the first time round gesso them, but because these have the red on the back, I'm quite happy for some of that to show through this time. So all I'm doing is taking this Dilutions orange and I'm just going to paint all across the cards. And I only do one coat because, as I say, I don't mind the backs showing through. And then all I'll do after this is to take a stamp with some red paint and stamp all over it. Now some of that paint's gone through to the other side. That's not a problem. Or at least not a problem for me, because some of that will be covered up and I'm quite happy for little bits to show through anyway. So I noticed through the slow down period that there was kind of a number of recurring themes for me. And, I've been reflecting on that and paying a bit of attention to the things that came up for me. And I suspect that through this phase, through rise and this state of being, that again there'll be some common themes come up for me. I suspect some of it will be much the same as through the slow down phase. But I think that in terms of doing this with intention, with doing the journaling and thinking about it, then in fact that's actually just brought certain things to the fore for me. And I hope that's the same for you as well. So now my cards are dry and ready to use. And I'll take the first one for this first word of rise. And the word I've chosen for this week is awaken. And again for me that seemed to very much fit in with that theme of rise. Moving on from the slow down phase of relaxing, being calm, being still, it's now about awaken from that state of being. And when I started to think about this, I started to think about it in terms of the 5 senses. Because when I think about waking up from a sleep or rising after rest, then it's very much, for me, it's about becoming aware of what's going on around. So in the journal, which unfortunately I didn't actually record, but I wrote down sight, and what came to mind was light, stars, moon, flora, fauna. And then I wrote down hearing, and I was listening at that point to the birds in the background, obviously music, the sound of waves, thinking about the waves in last week's video. Smell was about fruit, coffee, lavender, flowers. Taste, again, was about fruit and coffee. And touch was about touching cotton sheets, about hands in paint, and about touching paintbrushes and the likes. So all of this was very much about awakening the senses in a sense. In a sense, yes. Okay, so for me, when I wake in the morning or get up after resting, then there's something about the senses being more heightened. It's like I suddenly notice things more. And so in this period of rise, the first thing I want to do is to awaken the senses and just be more aware of how things are kind of reacting, how my senses are reacting to my surroundings, and again picking up on the things that I enjoy. And again, that's what I'm trying to get into this card today. So I'm simply starting by taking some collage materials, and it's just colours that when I looked through my little box of things, the colours appealed to me. Again, they seemed more vibrant and fitted with the notion of rise and awaken. So one was just a piece of paper that I think I'd previously sprayed through a stencil on, and these are just simple little washi origami type papers. Now I'd picked two out, and I like the one that I've put down, but I was less keen on the other one that I'd pulled. So I'm going to actually take another one out. I just have a look through my little box to see what I've got. They're all very bright. I'm just looking to see what goes. Now actually, when looking at these colours together, you might think they actually don't go together, and that's okay. This is just what I felt like doing. As much as I sometimes play by the rules of the colour wheel, other times I will go completely against it, and I just go with what calls to me. So I've seen this little bit, and I quite like that kind of sky blue colour, and I like the butterfly on it. So I'm now just going to put this down. And I want the little butterfly to be up towards the corner. And again, just to reiterate that although I've now gone into this state of being that I'm calling rise, which I do see as kind of increasing the pace, increasing the energy in some ways, I am still very much about doing this slowly and doing it with intention. It's not about rushing it, it's about enjoying each and every card that I make. No matter how simple it is or how much work I put into it in terms of spending a lot of time and putting a lot of detail in it, for me it's just about the card, so it doesn't matter if it takes 2 minutes or if it takes me an hour, so long as I enjoy it and imbue it with those positive thoughts. So I've now got my collage pieces in place, but I do just want to knock the colour back a little bit, so I'm just going to use some of this titanium white. Now the ink on the first piece of collage will actually start to move about, and that's okay. I like the colour that it creates as it mixes with the white. So I'm trying to blend the separate pieces of collage in. And as is often the case when I'm doing this, as I start to play, it starts to change direction a little bit. And so I use more and more of the white. I like the fact that it's starting to create almost a kind of dreamy type effect. And again, for me, that is almost a part of wakening up, coming to after relaxing or snoozing or whatever. Just that sort of dreamy state. When I start to hear things around me, start to see things, and just enjoying that process of rise and of awaken. And of course, as I'm creating my card, I am using my fingers, and so I've got that sense of touch in here. My candle's burning, I can smell that. So I've created an atmosphere here when making these cards that actually appeals to all of my senses. I could play some quiet music in the background, but actually I enjoy listening to the birds in the garden. And I think this is an important part of creating this positivity deck, is actually having your space, your surroundings, and it doesn't matter how big or small that is, but that little creative space that's yours for the time that you're creating your card, just making that environment appealing so that that becomes part of this positive process. So in a moment I will dry that off, and then what I decide to do is to add some watercolour to it. I just use the little brush that came with the watercolours. I hadn't used it before, and some of the hairs actually start to come out of it. So I then just put the brush to the side, and again I go back to using my fingers and enjoying the touch of making the card. No point in letting these little things worry us. It's easy to fix. So all I've done is to dip my finger into some water, and then I'm just rubbing it along the colours and then applying it to the card. So these paints are kind of pearlised, so they do kind of shine, sparkle a little bit when the light's on them. And I just keep building up that colour until I feel that there's enough there. And as you'll see, the collage has mainly faded into the background now. You can see a little bit of the two washi origami type papers that I added. And again, I'm kind of building on that slightly dreamy effect. At least that's how it appears to me. So I'll now give that a dry, and I've decided I'm going to put a stamp on it. And I'm looking at these, or looking to put on a butterfly stamp. And I just check which one I think will fit size-wise. I thought I'd have to go for one of the little butterflies, but then realised that the big one would actually fit, and so I decided to go for that one. And just double checking here that it will fit and that I can put it at a slight angle. And I'll just do a test stamp to begin with. But by doing that, I realise that I need a lot more ink on it. And so I'll make sure that I've got it well inked up. And just taking my time here just to make sure that I can get it all on the card. And I'm perfectly happy with that. And now what I'll do is to write my word. So as I do this, I invite you to think about what appeals to your five senses, and also to think about how you can, when you sit down to make art, to craft, to make one of these cards, just types of things that you might surround yourself with, just to make it a pleasant and a positive experience. It doesn't need to be candles, it doesn't need to be anything other than something that appeals to you. For me, it's a candle, sometimes some soft music, other times just listening to the birds. And often it's about having a cup of coffee by my side. All of those things that appeal to my senses. So yes, I invite you to think about that this week. I'll just finish off the card now by taking this gold Posca pen. This pen does have a habit of flooding, so all I do is to make a little puddle of ink, and then all I'll do is use that to dab onto the card in certain places, just to make little dots. So I hope you find this next state of being of interest, and if you've been making the positivity deck cards so far, then I hope you will continue to do so. Do let me know below what you think, and yes, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I might say a bit more about Rise as the weeks go on, but I certainly hope that you will enjoy this set of prompts as well. So in a moment, I will just do my usual of sitting with my card for a moment and again looking at my journal. So let me say for now, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for my next video. Bye for now.